Hello, and thank you again for joining A Shark's Perspective, the podcast with subject matter experts in marketing. So, blockchain is a technology that continues to intrigue a lot of marketers and how it fits into what's next. I've done several episodes on the technology, but really, what does it mean to you as a marketer? What should you prepare for as part of this disruption to come? And two, how are the movers and shakers in this space, especially women of diverse backgrounds, being recognized for their thought leadership? Tongtong Gong is the COO and co-founder of Amberdata, and she's a subject matter expert in blockchain technology. And on this episode, we'll discuss the continuing evolution of blockchain in marketing and advertising, Ethereum, decentralized databases, Sheryl Sandberg, and even a little bit about Chinese cornbread. So let's tune in to a blockchain entrepreneur with an entrepreneurial shark on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Tongtong, thank you so much for joining us today on A Shark's Perspective. If you would tell us a little bit about your background and your career to date.
Thank you for having me, Kenneth.
Of course.
I guess I can call you Shark, right?
Yes, you may.
We met each other when I was working for Axiom back in Little Rock, Arkansas. So my career started as a software engineer. Straight out of college, I got my first job at Axiom and doing encryption, decryption, workflow security. So I was on the team responsible for encrypting, decrypting incoming outbound files, customer files, so the Axiom can process. So from then on, I just kind of done, always stay in the data analytics space and stay in the cloud computing space. I worked for Axiom for over 10 years, and during some of the time, I helped set up Axiom's offshore research and development and engineering center in Nantong, China. So I was there for 4 years, and then I also worked for EMC, now acquired by Dell. So it's EMC Dell now, and working for the CTO office. Help basically on advanced development, merge acquisition opportunities, help fostering all the innovations, and working on proof of concepts, and help incubating strategic investments. And I worked there for a couple of years, and then moved down to New York. Joined a marketing tech startup called Unified. I was the VP engineering there. And then I started my own company, Amberdata, August of 2017. Time fly by.
Yeah, no kidding. So, what interested you in particular in blockchain? And then what also, interested you in blockchain to become an entrepreneur of a blockchain company?
So, like I said, my background has always been in data processing and cloud computing and cloud storage, right? So, so blockchain really is not a far stretch from what I've already known. But what really got me interested is the potential disruption blockchain could bring on how we own things, the ownership, the access rights. So I'll give you a really like personal example. So I moved to US when I was 17, and 10 years later, because of work, I relocated back to China, right? So at this point, I have my education records, I have my employment record, but the moment I landed in China, I had to reestablish everything. I had to get all my education record translated and then certified. And it was really difficult for me to provide a reference for who I am, where have I been for past 10 years.
Right.
And so when I finally got all the stuff, it was just lots of running around, lots of dealing with the government agencies that's not very efficient.
Sure.
A lot of those trouble, and I finally have a life in China. And then 6 years later, when I relocate back to US, guess what? I had to do all that stuff all over
again. Sure.
And there's you can't really just transfer lots of money with you like overseas, right? So the restriction in China at that time was that you can only exchange $50,000 worth of currency from Chinese money to US money every year. So when I was relocating back, I can only bring $50,000 with me, cash. And that's not a lot of money when we're thinking about finding an apartment, potentially buying a house, getting a car and just get settled, right? So I only have a limited amount of cash. But when I came here, okay, let's talk about buying a car. I want to get a loan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's your earning history? What's your credit history? It didn't exist for 6 years in the US, right? So I did pay my bill. I did have a healthy, financial whatever, but that's in China. It's not recognized here. And when it comes to even renting an apartment, they want to check your, utility payment records. Make sure you always pay your utility. You're a good tenant. I couldn't produce those things.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really difficult for me to, reestablish that life, right? So for me, just like men, like at the end of the day, I didn't really own the money I made. I'm a law-abiding citizen, paying taxes no matter where I am, but I couldn't move money around and I couldn't move my own personal record around. And so the information should belong to me, doesn't. So that was really, the epiphany point for me just to say, wow, like who am I as a human being if I don't own my assets and I
Mm-hmm.
don't own my identity, right? So with blockchain's promise, when I started learning about the potential, and I know we're still a long way, but it at least give a promise to say you can truly own your identity and assets in a way that it's out of third parties control.
So, what's it like so far being an entrepreneur?
Wow, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, and it's not for everyone. I often tell people it might sound really fun and glamorous, to have your own startup, but a lot of time there's up and downs definitely, and you have to enjoy being uncomfortable. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? You have to get comfortable making decisions when nobody else can make the decision, and you have to be comfortable with taking on the responsibility of the decision. So it's been a really good experience so far because I've learned a tremendous amount. It's also at times stressful. So I wouldn't trade it for anything else.
Sure. Well, your company's obviously starting to get some good PR now and some good recognition. Amberdata is. You recently presented the Cloud Now Awards hosted by Facebook. So, what was that like? Getting in front of that crowd, especially all the top leaders and the CEO at Facebook.
I was incredibly humbled, to be
I
honest.
bet.
It was a complete surprise to me to be recognized among all those badass women. And so the award, for people that is not familiar with Cloud Now, so Cloud Now is an organization that's championing, diversity and women in cloud and other emerging technologies. So the award is, I think this is the seventh year where they host the award. It's sponsored by Google, Facebook, Intel,
Yeah.
all the big companies in the valley. And I got to visit Facebook's headquarters. I got to meet Sheryl Sandberg. It's just an incredibly humble experience to be recognized, you know, into this prestigious group of women.
Absolutely. And there's only what 10 winners nationwide or internationally.
Yeah, it was 10 of us. That was, there are people ranging from doing AI to cloud services to security.
Hmm.
It's really just show you, entrepreneurs can come in many
Yeah.
different shape and form.
Well, then let's sort of dive into the topic again, and that's blockchain. And really, how do you see blockchain in the market today, and how is it changing marketing and advertising?
I I I really think today a lot of people talk about blockchain. There's a certain hype to it, right? But very few actually understand what
Agreed.
what it actually is, right? And people often just like, what is the difference between Bitcoin and blockchain? And and there's it's a very intimidating because I'm in the whole circle, but if you talk to someone that's not familiar with the space, and people often say, you guys are like in a cult, you speak different language, and it sounds very intimidating, but it really is not. So if think about Bitcoin, which is the first cryptocurrency. It was 10 years ago that Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper was published. And what Bitcoin is, it's a decentralized currency that's not controlled by any third party, right? So I don't know if you follow Linda Xie on Twitter. She gave a really good explanation about Bitcoin, which is about the use case and why Bitcoin exists. It's that, she's like, if you have to create money today,
Mm-hmm.
forget everything you know about money. If you had to create money today and define how this money should work, what would you do, right? Number one, you probably say, I don't need a paper form, physical form of money. It should be digital,
Mm-hmm.
right? And digital settlements and digital money just makes so much more sense. And then having paper and keeping all the changes. So it's like, okay, that makes sense. And the second thing is, don't you want to create a global currency that's recognized by everyone in the world so you don't have to mess with exchanges, right? When you go travel to Europe, you don't have to think about bringing euro or British pounds and whatnot. And then the third point is that, well, if it's a global currency, you really don't want to trust any particular government of issuing that currency, right? You don't want to trust Chinese government, North Korean government, Venezuela, or United States government, like, because with any government, there is always the risk of inflation, corruption, many, many different issues. So when we talk about a currency that's global, that's digital, that's not controlled by any government, that is Bitcoin. So, that's why, I'm become a huge fan of Bitcoin. Now we talk about, blockchain. So the major innovation that really got me interested in the space, it's Ethereum. So Vitalik, proposed the white paper, published a white paper, and the innovation here is that it's be able to execute smart contract, which it's a programmable smart contract in an autonomous way on top of a Bitcoin, blockchain. So now there's not only just a currency, but also there's a logic you can input into the smart contract to drive behaviors and initiate transactions. And so that's really what blockchain is about. And for me, that's just a distributed computing and in an autonomous way. And it's very interesting to me.
Sure. Well, I know there've been a lot of projects. There's obviously it's a way to cut out the middleman. And when you look at it from a Google perspective and the ability for, an advertiser or even an agency who distributes this, and they're able to connect with a consumer and sort of jump through not needing a search engine necessarily, correct? I mean, they would have a direct connection to the consumer, at least through some sort of ad network. How do you do that and scale, though? Because it does give you that one-on-one relationship, but how will this scale to where you're hitting, say 300 plus million Americans today? How do you sort of scale that and build that out to where you're able to connect with each one of those consumers?
So, I think people give a lot of grief to, Facebook, Google as the, central data aggregator and whatnot. And we say decentralization, is better. So my view on that is that the word decentralization today, it's misused and misinterpreted in many different ways,
Mm-hmm.
because for me, decentralization is not just about the storage of data, right? It's about the access and control of such data.
Mm-hmm.
For example, it's my personal example, my credit history records, my education employment records, I want it to be centralized. I don't want China keep a copy part of my life, US keep a part of my life. If I ever, work in Europe for a couple of years and European keep part of my record. I would like to be in a central aggregated way so that all my records in one place, right? But however, I would like to have the true control, like me as individual, right? Each one's individual have a true control of such access. If I go to this place, request for a loan, and I allow them access to my history, I give that to them instead of other agencies owning me, owning my purchase history, owning my reference, preferences on things, and make money based on owning my data, right? Like selling me as a product. So I think the aggregation and storage of data, it's fine to be in one place. It's who has the true control and access of that. And if you want to target me based on my demo, based on my preference, that is fine. But I should be able to say, sell my data to the advertisers because I'm looking for a lipstick. I would love to be targeted on the new lipstick. I would love to be offered for a coupon for the lipstick. Let me allow you and compensate me for allow you marketing towards me, but not the middlemen.
Mm-hmm. Have you taken a look at the Brave browser yet, or any of those
Oh, I
similar?
was just about to say, that's one of my favorite
Yeah.
projects. Yeah, because Brave browser and then the basic attention token is really giving the access and giving the power to the consumer
Yeah.
to say, target me, let me get rewarded, for selling my information out, right?
Well, and for those that don't know, Brave is a open source browser. I think that's based on the Chromium web browser, and it's blocks ads and website trackers. So it's sort of a considered a pay to I sort of say pay to play, but a pay to surf business model. I think is what they go by. But how should marketers then, in your mind, start to plan for how blockchain will continue to change? Because we're still, for the most part, at least within marketing and in digital marketing, there are some companies out there that are testing this. I know IBM and Walmart did a big project together on tracing back some of the pork purchases they were doing, but we're still sort of in the hypothetical at this point. At least, where do you see blockchain changing for marketers in the near term to short to medium term?
I think for the near term, right, for marketers, is that it really just flattens the world. And and I know many people read the book "The World Is Flat" and how internet bring the world closer. And with the blockchain, if you think about the movement of blockchain today, it's not really just Silicon Valley. It's not just New York City. It's really a global movement. You know, Yesterday there was the Ethereum upgrade happened on the mainnet, and we had I didn't know, like I don't want to misquote. We had like 50,000 user and logging into our website, checking on the status of the upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at the visitor site map, it's all over the globe. It's not just U.S. It's all over the globe where people care about this. So it really is for marketers. It start to, think about you are really from day one talking to a global crowd
Mm-hmm.
that's interested in the movements of blockchain adoption and development. It just really is everywhere.
Then how do we start to integrate blockchain and market data into any product or service?
So so it's funny when I talk about market data, it's price data.
Sure.
So
Right.
yeah, it's a price data. So funny you ask this question. We're actually just launched a blockchain data API where you can
Nice.
just call Amberdata API to get real-time validated data out of blockchain. And so you don't have to think about how to run a node, how to maintain a node, how to make sure the node syncs with the rest of the network. Just call our API and get that real-time data. We're also beta testing, it's launching soon, the market data API, where we have trading prices and activities, open, high, low, close, across all the major exchanges in the world, so that you can use those data to build your application, right? You might want to develop certain trading strategy to say, based on these activities and correlation of the price, here's my trading strategy. I can back test it with historical data, and
Mhm.
I can perhaps predict where things are going for the future to aim my trades. And for developer developing dApps, you can get those data and understand more about how people are using your dApp, what's the real activities of certain dApp. Like today, it's it's still new, right? And sometimes you see a token with unreal amount of transactions, activities on chain. You're like, wow, that's really happening. But if you really dig deeper, the activity might be just among 3 to 5 addresses calling each other. So they're generating a lot of false back and forth transactions, right? So how do you get information like that in a very fast, real way, so that you can make decisions and programming things, evaluate things appropriately? And, that's what we're here to provide.
So if I'm a marketer today and I've got an overall idea now from just listening to you what blockchain is, how it will impact. I think for the most part, people, should have an understanding of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, for example, but also the general ledger. But where, as a marketer, do I start pouring myself into the learning, the knowledge that's out there to become more astute? Because this is one of those things that I think for a lot of people that still don't understand, at least from a business and marketing perspective. They don't
Mm-hmm,
know how to get involved without becoming a complete Bitcoin aficionado.
mm-hmm. Honestly, I treat blockchain as a decentralized database
Mm-hmm.
with the ability to execute code autonomously. That's really how I tell people, to demystify blockchain. Just think about it as a decentralized database, and then you can execute code on top of it. So it's super efficient and allow anyone to deploy things. So as a marketer, I don't think you really have to understand the technical nitty-gritty details of blockchain. There's a lot of technical challenges ahead of us on scaling, how to make things work better. And as marketers, just know the potential it's out there on disrupting how we do business from a business process perspective, right? With all the middlemen being potentially removed based on the blockchain um, transactions. And just go from that perspective, because it's really easy to get lost in the all the hypes and doubts and FUD and FOMOs
Exactly.
of of blockchain. So treat that as a technology. A technology, it's all about serving a purpose, right? Solving a problem. And I think we all agree today there is the data privacy problem out there. There's the control of access out there, and blockchain is really here to solve that problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's not, you can't use blockchain for everything, right? It's not suited for everything. Um, so, and for marketers, just treat that as just a technology, and if you were enthusiastic about it, read, just get educated and learn more about the true use cases of those versus get into the real technical details of it.
Agreed. I think some of the use cases, even though I have a fairly technical background, the use cases has helped me understand blockchain and usage more than anything else. So does a marketer or a lot of blended departments within marketing and IT, do they need to look at building anything differently internally for their infrastructure to prepare for blockchain?
I honestly don't think so. I don't think it's there yet, right? So when you talk about marketing today, it's really about marketing for the blockchain projects,
Exactly.
right? And that is just any typical marketing. There's the content marketing, there's the, social outreach and direct marketing. So it's treat all the other projects like any other startup,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and exactly how, without Facebook, without Google, how would you market to audiences? Because really, marketing today, advertising is really search based and or social based, right? Like, or email campaign, whatever. So, how do we do that after blockchain take over the world? We're too early. We're not there yet.
Yeah, yeah. Tongtong, if you had to wave your crystal ball, what do you want to see next, and or what do you see next, and how blockchain will continue to disrupt to where we'll start to notice it?
I so later last year, it's it was a huge bear market for crypto
Mm-hmm.
market, right? I think it was like a 90% drop. We see the price of it, but the silver lining in this is that um, a lot of fluffy projects are gone, and the projects that remain are the true solid projects that with product and real engineering powers and whatnot. And we participated in the East Denver hackathon that was hosted a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And just the amount of people that showed up there, and the quality and the caliber of the projects that was built in merely 3 days. It's just mind blowing. And so that was really good to see that despite of the price of things, and we're people still enthusiastic about building it, and that's really where my passion is as well. Is building the supporting tools, the developer tools, the APIs, the search interfaces to make it more accessible for developers and consumers to understand what's happening in the blockchain world, to make it more accessible, right? So if I have a crystal ball, I think as long as we keep going, keep building, keep dodo, as we say in the blockchain world, and we're going to solve all these problems, right? People have doubts about, oh, Ethereum doesn't scale, there's all these issues, but 10 years ago, I couldn't imagine watching video online.
Yeah.
I would probably just, oh, it's too slow network bandwidth. But today, I don't even have cable TV anymore. I stream all my contents. So the technical problem will get solved, and we'll make blockchain more accessible and less intimidating.
All right. Tong Tong, couple of questions for you. So, what is your favorite shark and why?
I don't know. Well, you,
Thank you. How do you say shark in Chinese?
Sha Yu.
Exactly. See, it's world. I'm world known. So it's now time to ask you the five most important questions that you're going to be asked today. Are you ready?
Okay.
Number one: Shanghai or New York?
New York.
Big data or blockchain?
Blockchain.
Ethereum or the U.S. dollar?
Ethereum.
Xi Jinping or Donald Trump? Well, that's a
Neither.
political hot button, isn't it? Yeah.
Neither.
And the most important question that you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
Cornbread.
Nice. Do the Chinese have a well, I know they have biscuits, but do the Chinese have cornbread?
Absolutely. And we have a, it's different the way we prepare it. It's less sweet. And we also don't put butter on it when we eat it. We usually put like a red date in them. So yeah, we have it's more dense, less fluffy, but we have our version for cornbread.
It sounds like cardboard. So,
It's really solid.
yeah. So Tongtong, where can people find out more about you, your company, follow you on social channels, and learn more about blockchain?
So follow us on Twitter. That's Amberdata IO, AMBR Data IO. And in the next couple of weeks, we're actually launching a very consumer friendly feature I'm super proud about. It's called Search Premium. It's a user interface that doesn't require any programming skills, where you can search for all the activities that ever happened on Ethereum. So,
Outstanding.
for example, you can say, show me on this day what's happening between here and here, and show me all transactions that's over $1 million, and it really allow you to dig deep. It's almost like, the first search engine, when the internet built, it's allow you to start exploring and browsing what's happening. So in a few weeks, stay tuned. We'll announce the release of that, and I just can't wait to show people what we can do.
Outstanding. Well, Tongtong, again, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today on A Shark's Perspective.
Thank you for having me.
So there was my conversation with Tongtong Gong, the COO and co-founder of Amberdata, and she's a subject matter expert in blockchain technology. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from my conversation with her. First, with regards to marketing, think Ethereum and less Bitcoin, because the latter is a currency and Ethereum is a decentralized platform based on blockchain technology that allows us to run smart contracts and enables developers to build and deploy decentralized applications. They're sort of related, but not really. While Bitcoin is used to track ownership of digital cryptocurrency, the Ethereum blockchain focuses on running the programming code of any decentralized application. Second, I'm so proud of Tongtong. I met her several years ago when we worked together in big data, and now she's all grown up and a brilliant entrepreneur of a blockchain company. She was recognized at the Cloud Now Awards, which originated from Silicon Valley's most prestigious companies, and they're championing diversity in cloud, AI, and other technologies. Tongtong even spent some time speaking with Facebook's Sheryl Sandberg. I've spoken about this on another blockchain episode, but it's great that we're seeing more needed diversity, especially in this space. As she further said, it shows that entrepreneurs can come in many different shapes and forms. Third, this is a subject that continues to confuse a lot of people, yet there is an amazing amount of interest around blockchain, which promises to offer a true control and access to your data. You would have to allow someone to have access to your data. To demystify, she treats blockchain as a decentralized database with the ability to execute code on top of it. So as a marketer, know that there are still a lot of technical challenges ahead. It will disrupt how we do business in the future and how the middlemen are going to be removed, so to speak. And while it's so easy to get lost in all the hype and theory, also know that it's a technology that solves several problems with privacy and control and transparency. Just keep reading, listening to my other podcasts on blockchain. Learn as much as you can and get educated. Exciting times are ahead. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. Thank you so much for your time today and letting me talk to you about another one of the components that makes up marketing today. So Sha Yu says, keep building and join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.